Happy 4th of July, friends. We're back for day 2 of Eyes to See. Normally I do one of these a week, but last night went well and we left with unfinished business. So as we finish the 4th of July, notice my patriotic hat, which I'm actually going to have to change because I can't put my headphones on, but I literally just whipped up this paper. Actually, I started yesterday after I finished that one. Been struggling with it. I like the way the yesterday's came out, but this one might be all right. Brings up a couple new ideas. Let me know what you think. Let me grab that real quick and change my hat. Where's my hat? I belong, West Virginia. Check, check. Okay, we're back. Essay 11. The men who could sign their names. And this one's only 6 pages instead of 7 or 8 or 9. Whew. How was your 4th of July? Here we're under a severe fire watch, drought warning, whatever. Fireworks ban. But I can tell you what, this town is not short of people stupid enough to keep blasting off fireworks. I mean, honestly, I don't care because I've also seen this town erupt in fireworks when there were no bans. And it gets pretty wild. I actually made a video once called This Is What Freedom Looks Like, using Jimi Hendrix' Star Spangled Banner as the background music to a drone video of just unreal fireworks across the entire city. And I can't put it on YouTube because Jimi Hendrix don't like you playing a song. But let me know. I can send you a direct link. All right, let's read this paper. The 4th of July is coming to an end. The fireworks are still popping off in the distance, which is true. The smoke is thick over the neighborhoods, and America is celebrating 250 years of independence. Some of it was beautiful. Children waved flags, families gathered, songs were played and sung, even the old words were remembered for a few minutes. But much of it was exactly what we have become. Johnny blew off his pinky because no one told him liberty and stupidity are not the same thing. Some men drank too much and slapped their wives, while others waved the flag over appetites they have never been able to control. Some men shouted about freedom, while proving they are ruled by every drink or impulse that passes through them. The Declaration of Independence was signed by 56 men, a different kind of men, from 13 colonies. They were not one kind of men. They came from New England, the Middle Colonies, and the South. They were lawyers, merchants, physicians, farmers, planters, ministers, soldiers, and public men. The youngest was Edward Rutledge of South Carolina at 26. The oldest was Benjamin Franklin of Pennsylvania at 70. Some were wealthy, some were not. Some were already marked men. Each of them understood the danger of what they were doing. The National Archives notes that signing the Declaration meant pledging one's life, fortune, and sacred honor fully to the cause of freedom, while acting as traitors in the eyes of the King of England. The British Navy was perched outside the New York harbor. Dead or alive rewards had already been posted for prominent rebel leaders. This document was not a ceremonial keepsake. It was a list of dead men if the rebellion failed. The importance of the document is not only that it declared certain ideas, it attached names to them. Ideas can float above consequences for a long time, but names cannot. A name pins a man to his word. A name says, "Here I am. This is my judgment. These are my charges. This is where I stand," knowing full well the cost. The signers did not hide behind anonymous Twitter accounts, institutional process, or polished statements designed so that no one person could be blamed. They instead made themselves fully visible. Courage accepts consequence, however. Theater wants the appearance of conviction without the blood. Modern America is full of theatrical courage. People are brave when danger has already been removed. They are rebellious when rebellion is fashionable. They are principled when the institution has already approved the principle. They praise dead rebels because dead rebels do not ask anything of them. Cowardice loves courage once courage is safely framed, merchandised, and turned into a museum exhibit. It can admire the old fire without ever getting burned. The signers were not angels, and pointing out their flaws does not make us better than them. They were men, which means they carried contradiction, sin, pride, weakness, blindness, ambition, and failure. But imperfect men can still do honorable things, and a man who has risked nothing should be extremely careful when sneering at men who risked everything. A certain kind of modern intelligence has become very skilled at finding dirt on the boots of men who walked roads it would never dare travel on. This modern intelligence mistakes criticism and complaining for courage, because criticism and complaints are cheap. It can condemn the past all day long without standing upright once in the present. Patrick Henry understood this cost well before comfortable Americans turned his words into patriotic wallpaper. "Give me liberty or give me death" was not a bumper sticker for men who wanted freedom without blood. It was not written for campaign speeches, beer commercials, school posters, or holiday merchandise. It was the cry of a man who understood that peace can become dishonorable when the price of peace is surrender. Henry says, "It is in vain, sir, to extenuate the matter. Gentlemen may cry peace, peace, but there is no peace. The war has already begun. The next wind that sweeps from the north will bring to our ears the clash of resounding arms. Our brothers are already in the field. Why do we stand here idle? What is it that gentlemen wish? What would they have? Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death." Henry did not say, "Give me liberty," unless the timing isn't right. He didn't say, "Give me liberty," unless the optics aren't going to be complicated. He did not say, "Give me liberty," unless it affects my reputation. He said, "Give me liberty or give me death," because liberty without blood is a delusion. The modern mind wants liberty without death, freedom without risk, patriotism with no duty, courage without exposure, and truth without a signature. It wants the inheritance without the invoice. It wants the flag without the burden. It wants rights without duties, an anthem without discipline, and independence without self-control. A free people can survive bad leaders, corruption, hardship, and external enemies longer than it can survive moral adolescence. Children may inherit liberty, but children cannot preserve it. A child can receive a house and still burn it down by morning. He can inherit tools and never learn the craft. He can be handed a name, a farm, a business, a church, a town, a country, and still squander all of it, because inheritance without formation only gives weakness more room to destroy. Freedom works the same way. The founders could declare independence, but they could not make their descendants worthy of it. They could sign their names, pledge their lives, spill their blood, build the framework, and hand forward a republic. They could not hand forward courage in a jar. Every generation has to produce that in its own chest. This is where the 4th of July becomes more than a celebration. The men who signed were not playing at patriotism. They were laying the foundation of a country with their necks exposed. We have grown used to seeing the Declaration as an old document, but it was also a wager. If the cause succeeded, their names would be honored. If it failed, those same names became evidence. The ink could become a noose. Their signature could become a death sentence. The price of the document was not theoretical. It was blood, property, reputation, family, exile, prison, ruin, and death. Freedom did not begin as a safe opinion. It began as men willing to be counted when being counted could get them killed. Modern Americans have nearly lost the ability to think this way. We talk about freedom as though it means comfort protected by the law. We treat liberty like a climate-controlled condition where no appetite is denied, no feeling is judged, no consequences allowed to land too hard. And no man is expected to stand publicly for anything that might make his life smaller. We want independence without discipline, rights without duties, patriotism without sacrifice, and courage without exposure. We have confused freedom with permission so badly that many people now think any limit placed on desire is oppression. A republic cannot survive that kind of people. It may survive bad presidents, corrupt courts, dishonest parties, economic panic, foreign threats, and seasons of stupidity. Nations can absorb a lot of damage when the people still possess some spine. But no republic can survive a population that wants the blessings of liberty while refusing the burden of self-government. A free country requires citizens who can govern their mouths, their money, their bodies, their appetites, their homes, their tempers, their fears, and their need for approval. A man ruled by every impulse that passes through him is not made free by living under a flag. He has only exchanged one master for many smaller ones. The founders understood tyranny because they understood human nature. They did not build a system of limited government because they believed men were naturally pure. They built it because they knew power concentrates corruption. And they knew fallen men become dangerous when no law, custom, virtue, or fear of God restrains them. American freedom was never supposed to mean every man doing whatever he wanted. While demanding protection from the wreckage, it was built on the harder assumption that liberty requires virtue, and virtue requires formation. A people unable to restrain themselves will eventually beg to be restrained by someone else. This is the part we do not want to admit. Freedom is not usually lost because one villain appears in a black coat and steals it in the night. Freedom is traded away by people who become tired of carrying it. They trade it for comfort. They trade it for safety. They trade it for money they did not earn, pleasures they cannot control, lies that make them feel innocent, and leaders who promise to manage consequences without requiring repentance. They trade it one cowardly accommodation at a time, one silence, one compromise, one renamed appetite, one surrendered duty, one true sentence left unsigned. The sign name still matters because it marks the place where the man stops hiding. A signature says the words are no longer floating in the air. They belong to someone. They have entered the world through a particular man with a body, a family, a reputation, and something to lose. The Declaration demanded that kind of man. It did not ask for an anonymous agreement. It did not ask for safe sympathy. It did not ask for private approval whispered behind closed doors. It required men willing to say in public, under their own names, before God, king, neighbor, and enemy, "Here I stand." America needs that again. not in the theatrical sense, not loud men looking for cameras, not online prophets hiding behind fake names, not citizens who confuse volume with courage and anger with principle. The country needs men and women who can sign their names in the ordinary places where freedom is either preserved or surrendered. A father signs when he corrects his child instead of worshiping peace in the house. A husband signs when he tells the truth instead of protecting his pride. A worker signs when he refuses to repeat a lie in a meeting. A citizen signs when he defends the country without apology and criticizes her without contempt. A patriot signs when he says, America is worth loving, worth correcting, worth defending, and worth handing forward. The battlefield is not always dramatic. Most men will never be asked to pledge their lives in a hall full of revolutionaries while an empire waits offshore. Most will be tested in smaller rooms, which is often where cowardice wins. A man does not usually betray freedom all at once. He betrays it because becoming the sort of person who cannot bear. By becoming, did I say because? He betrays it by becoming the sort of person who cannot bear a cost. He cannot bear being disliked. He cannot bear losing status. He cannot bear tension in the room. He cannot bear apologizing. He cannot bear telling his children no. He cannot bear being called harsh, backward, intolerant, bigot, judgmental, or dangerous. So he learns to agree privately and vanish publicly. A country full of such men will not stay free. It may still have elections. It may still have flags. It may still have fireworks, patriotic songs, military flyovers, founding documents behind glass, and politicians who say God bless America at the end of speeches they did not write. But the inner substance will be gone. Liberty will become a word used by people who cannot command themselves. Patriotism will become decoration. Courage will become nostalgic. The republic will remain in outline while the citizen disappears. Last page, let's go. The men who signed their names left us more than a memory. They left us a standard. They showed that freedom has to become visible in men before it becomes durable in institutions. Laws matter. Documents matter. Constitutions matter. But paper cannot save a people who no longer produce citizens willing to suffer for the truth written on it. The Declaration did not The Declaration did not create liberty by magic. It gave voice to a people willing to bleed for it. So when the fireworks finally die tonight, when the smoke settles in the streets, when the last drunk patriot stumbles home and the flags hang limp in the dark, the question should not be whether America knows how to throw a birthday party, because we know she does. The question is whether America can still produce men who are willing to sign their names. Men who understand that freedom without sacrifice is make-believe. Men who know that liberty without self-command becomes slavery. Men who can love America in public. The founders could leave us documents, warnings, examples, and graves. They could leave us the language of rights, duty, honor, consent, representation, and tyranny. They could leave us a republic built on the blood and risk of men who knew exactly what might happen if the cause failed. But they could not leave us their spine. Every generation has to grow its own. If the 4th of July only leaves us with noise, food, smoke, hangovers, and sentimental pride, then we have missed the point. If it reminds us that independence was signed by men willing to be counted, then the holiday still had teeth. America does not need more people who enjoy fireworks. She's got plenty of those. She needs people who can bear the weight of the inheritance after the sky goes dark. If that sounds too costly, then at least speak honestly about what happened. Freedom was not stolen from you. You traded it in for comfort. And somewhere beneath the smoke of another 4th of July, the men who signed their names are still asking whether any of us can do the same. The end. You know what the best fireworks are? Thunderstorms. I mentioned before he started that I've done many drone videos in this town that I live in over the years on 4th of July. I was blown away, having not grown up in such a similar community as this, to see so many fireworks go off on the 4th of July. And if you think your town does it, no. Not unless you're DC or something. As far as privately owned, house by house fireworks, this town is the pinnacle and has been for many years. However, a huge fire is burning around this town, California style. Many structures and homes are being destroyed. The smoke lingers thick over the town. And that scared enough people. The firework ban came into effect. The firework vendors were sent packing. There will be no fireworks. There will be no fireworks. But these stubborn little punk-eyed kids and midwit dipshits that I live around, it's one thing in a year where everyone's just spending thousands of dollars on fireworks and things are great. But it's another thing when you're in danger, you're in a ban. And I'm not always a fan of following the rules, but these little midwits kept playing their music. Bullshit music. Didn't have anything to do with America. I literally have multiple playlists for America. Multiple 4th of July playlists. And I have to listen to fucking Cardi B. Pardon my language. Blaring from my backyard neighbors. And a bunch of cackling hens. 18 to 25 maybe. Yapping at every stupid song that comes on. So what do? I take my big ass speaker on top of my roof. And I played Jimi Hendrix' Star Spangled Banner until the sound of the rotten ghetto diminishes. And lest I piss off my neighbors too much, I throw in one more for good measure. Tom MacDonald, America. But the funny thing is that as they drink and they laugh and they party on down, not knowing their ass from a hole in the ground, shooting off their little dipshit fireworks, God rolls up and throws thunderstorm after thunderstorm in the distance. And as we sit on the roof and look past the minuscule midwits, what else can we call them? In front of me, we see in the distance God's fireworks. We see in the other distance the fire burning through the night. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is awe-inspiring. And that is something we should strive for. Respect, at least. So I hope you enjoyed that one. This is Eyes to See, Vision Beyond the Narrative, episode 20. Like I said, it's a weekly jobby, but we did two in a row because 4th of July. Tomorrow's Sunday, so I don't do a show, but every other day I do a show. So join me, 11 p.m. Mountain. Unless I'm late, like I was last night and tonight. Sometimes these papers don't always come together right. But I think we got one. If you enjoyed it, please do me a favor. Like, share, subscribe. Send it to somebody who you think might enjoy this. Some disgruntled patriot. Some former leftist, progressive, Democrat, bleeding heart liberal who went off into the world and got slapped by reality. And realized after having children, paying a mortgage, working 40 hours, struggling, that they don't want to see corrupt officials siphoning their money out of them and spending it on bullshit and sending it to their own pockets. Here's to you, former liberal. Welcome back to America. Good night.